Hi guys, I took you guys all back to my channel, and I am back with I guess we're gonna say April and May. Oh, excuse me, April and May reads. Excuse me. I actually recorded a video for last month, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like the lighting. I had no energy. I was tired. I didn't really care, honestly, and it was very obvious. So I decided that for the month of May, I was just going to read whatever I felt like reading, and if that was something of interest, then I'd talk about it. And I feel like I've read enough. I've DNF'd a couple of books in the past 2 months that we're going to talk about, but I think for the most part, sorry, I had to get my handy dandy book tracker so we could talk about it. But let's see. I need to go back 2 months. Okay, so this is May. And then okay, whoa. This is serious. I feel like I did an April reads, but I probably didn't. Who knows? So just in case I didn't get to it, we're going to talk about all the books that I have on my list. So the first book that I read in the month of April, the month of April, is this April? I'm struggling, guys. Yeah, the month of April was Everlasting Rose by Dhonielle Clayton. This was the, I guess, finale to The Bells, because I think it's a duology. I haven't heard if there's going to be a third one. Honestly, the way that the book ended, I don't think that there is going to be one. I don't think there's going to be one. I'm actually trying to debate like how I'm going to do a makeup book review on this series, because I have very mixed feelings. The first book, when I read it, it surprised me about how much I actually enjoyed reading it. But the second book, I felt was missing something, if that's the best way that I can explain it. It answered some questions. It was interesting. Again, the world that this was created in is a very interesting place. The Greys, everything about it is very interesting. And I wanted a better ending. I felt that the ending that was chosen was kind of lazy. The way that it was done in a way that you could just back explain everything and everything is just okay. And I don't really necessarily like that, to be totally honest. But I did finish it, so I'm counting that for myself because yay, I read. The next book that I read was Renegades by Marissa Meyers. And actually, okay, so this story is about a girl named Nova. She is a part of the anarchists, who are the villains, I guess is what we're going to call them. They were overthrown by who are known as the Renegades, which I guess in this sense would be the heroes. And the Renegades have created like this whole like society where there's like a headquarters for the Renegades, and like they're heroes, and they go and they rescue people and all that stuff, which is cool. But actually, when it came down to rescuing anybody and when Nova needed them the most, they didn't show up. So she actually ended up becoming a part of the anarchists. I can't tell you why, because that's part of the story. But she basically pretends to be a renegade and ends up joining this team. And, you think super cliche, because we obviously know that at the end of the book, they're going to find out her true identity and like everything's going to fall apart. But the ending was pretty surprising. Actually, a lot of points in the book were interesting because, there's always a fine line between good and bad and hero and villain. And you start questioning it a little bit with the way that their world is created. Like, what exactly was so bad about this? Or what exactly is so good about the way things are now? Should heroes be like glorified? Like, are they even, they're humans. So in a way it was interesting. I'm still iffy about whether or not I'm going to continue the series, though. That's the thing. I think the next book is Arch Enemies. So, I don't know. Like, the ending did leave me at a point where I was like, oh, wow. Because I do have some questions. But with the way my reading habits have been lately, I just haven't been in the mood right now to read that style of book. So, I got to take a break. So, a book that I DNF'd in the month of April is The Light of Paris by Eleanor Brown. This book sucked. It was boring. I didn't care about her or her grandma. I almost feel like she was raped. I'm not really sure. I didn't make it. I think I got to the first 50 pages, and once I got to the first 50 pages, I decided I just didn't care. So I DNF'd it. So, I read The Beast Made of Night by Tochi Oneyebuchi. This is on my list of me reading more Black authors. This was freaking fantastic. Not only is the cover gorgeous, but this book, the idea... Okay, so basically the idea is there's a kingdom. I'm guessing, I forgot the name of the kingdom, but it's obviously an African kingdom where the sins of the people are actually consumed by Aki, who are people that literally and figuratively eat your sins. So the sin is cast out of you, and once the sin is cast out of you, you no longer care about it. You no longer feel guilt or anything else associated with the sin, and they consume it. They literally eat it. Like, it burns them, like it burns their throat when they're chewing, like when they swallow it, and then it manifests themselves onto their skin as tattoos. But the tattoos are so distinct that is the marker for the Aki, and the Aki are treated like absolute trash. Even though technically I feel like they should be treated like royalty because they saving you from your sins, but whatever. Basically, it's about one of them. He is the most powerful, basically, and he gets caught up in a conspiracy in the kingdom where he feels obligated to help save the princess, and everything that unfolds, you learn more about what their powers can do and the fact that they are actually not invincible to these sins, and what happens to their body when they've consumed too many sins, and what happens if they don't actually manage to kill the sin and eat it. It's really cool. I'm reading the second book. I'm going to actually get the second book so I can read it. It's staying on my bookshelf. Highly recommend this book. So obviously I am going into a stage of my reading life where I want to read happy, fluffy things. And for me, happy, fluffy translates into graphic novels and mangas. So we read the first volume of My Hero Academia. Obviously, this is an easy read, and obviously I loved it because I love the series. I just need to catch up because some people I know have already read most of the mangas and I'm behind, and I kind of feel left out, and so I have to catch up. But I'm going to read this manga, but I need a list of mangas down below. There is a girl I watch on YouTube who gives me tons of manga ideas, but I don't know. I'm actually thinking about reading one from when I was a kid and seeing if I like it now. But we'll see. So the next book that I read is Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is the second book in the Caraval series. As you guys know, finale came out this month, and I am actually reading it. We'll talk about that in another video. But, okay, so the first book, Caraval, is told from Scarlett's perspective. The second book, Legendary, is told from Tella's perspective. And I can't help but love Tella more than Scarlett. I don't know if I'm the only person who feels that way. Again, I'm going to talk about this series is going to get its own makeup book review, because I actually really like this series. I love the world. I find myself way too invested in the characters. I'm kind of absolutely obsessed with Dante, Legend, and Tella. I need to know what happens to these people. I need to know why Legend has his powers. Basically, in this book, Tella is the one playing the game, and she is trying to free her mother. And her mother is a part of one of the biggest conspiracies of all time, where it coincidentally puts her and her sister's life in danger. And she basically figures that out over time. It's freaking great. Again, highly recommend it. Also, this is a very good audiobook as well. Caraval was a good one too. I wish Finale would hurry up and get their audiobook out, because I would listen to it again via audiobook just because I like the voice actors for this book series. So the next book that I DNF'd is The Tiger's Daughter by K.R. Sinault Rivera. I had high hopes for this book. Basically, it's about... am I going to call her an empress and her friend? Her friend is actually kind of a part of like a Mongolian-esque tribe. So, they're cooler. They got horses and they fight. But I just didn't care. I didn't care about them. It aggravated me about their... One second, you kind of feel like you're in Imperial China, but then they also started using Japanese terms. So I was like, pick which area you want to be in and stick to it. It's just very weird. It's just... I don't know. I just didn't care. I felt like the parts that they focused on, I didn't care. I got to... Actually, according to my bookmark, I got to page 70 and I quit. So... I don't know. I feel like once you get 50 pages into a book, if you're not feeling like you should read more, you should stop. And this was one of them. I just didn't feel like I needed to devote my time to this. Luckily, I got it from the library, so it's going right back. So the next book that I read was Legend of Korra, Tuft Wars. I read this because of the Asian readathon that Read with Cindy was doing. And I was super excited because... Obviously, I love Avatar: The Last Airbender series. One of the best ones of all time, in my personal opinion. Me personally, I felt like The Legend of Korra fell flat multiple times for multiple reasons. And I know that a lot of people like the ending because, you know, it was for the LGBTQ community. And that's great. But I hate when Korra is in a relationship. Like season 1, how many seasons was she in where she had like a boyfriend, or she was, I guess this whole time apparently she was crushing on Asami. I don't know, whatever. She doesn't do well when she's in a relationship. She cannot focus. She cannot do her job as Avatar when she's in a relationship. And to be honest, I feel like that's the trope they want to go with, because even in this book, it was like, hey, we're lesbians. Hey, let's tell everybody. Hey, you have to accept us. Hey, we should keep it a secret. Hey, we're lesbians. Hey, let's kiss. Hey, let's spend a whole page talking about how your life was in danger. Meanwhile, you've got spirits on the other page attacking people. But you know, hey, let's do this kissing scene. It's totally legit. In the middle of a battle. Hated it. I just personally feel like Aang didn't get no love until the very end, until he was done. Why can't Korra do the same? It just, literally, if she hadn't been worried about Asami on a love girlfriend level in the beginning of this, none of the bad stuff would have happened. She would have been able to handle that already. Why? Because that's where her focus would have been. But every single time she gets into a freaking relationship, she turns into this big wuss who can't do nothing but focus on love. It's a trope for women I cannot stand. One second, she's this super strong, badass chick, and then the next second, she's so sprung out on love that she can't do her freaking job. But I'm going to stop ranting, because y'all know how I feel about love stories, and y'all know how I feel about tropes where they destroy strong women just because they love somebody. Why couldn't Asami just be her homegirl? Asami is another badass chick who gets all mushy for Korra. I don't like it. If you're going to give me a love story, give me a love story where they don't have to change who they are and their whole persona that was developed so that they could be in love. They can do both. It's not hard. So I was recommended to read The Shadow Queen by JRedwine after I read the Lunar Chronicles last year, which I really feel like I need to go back and just redo the Lunar Chronicles. But this is a retelling of Snow White. And honestly, I prefer the retelling instead of the real punk, I'm just going to lay sleep and wait for some random guy to kiss me, Snow White. So this story starts with Lorelai, who is technically Snow White, her brother Leo, and I forgot his name, the guard that protects her. Like, they go into hiding because her stepmother, who is a Mardushka, which basically means witch, she killed her father, and she's perpetrating that, you know, they're dead. She doesn't know that they're alive. And that's the story of Snow White. There are no 7 dwarfs. Lorelai, however, because Lorelai's stepmother is also her aunt, and her mother was also a Mardushka, so she got some Mardushka powers as well. And so she tries to develop her Mardushka powers. Oh, which reminds me, the hunter in this story is a part of a world where there are actually dragons and humans. So they have 2 hearts, a dragon heart and a human heart. So they can take a human form and then they turn into gigantic dragons. Well, their kingdom is fighting off ogres, and these ogres somehow got a hold of a magical power and is wiping out their armies left and right. And the only way they feel like they can beat them is by joining or trying to convince the Mardushka Queen of Ravenspire to help them, but she won't help them until they catch Lorelai. Boom. That's the Snow White story you want to hear. It's got magic. It's got dragons. She is actually pretty great. She stands up for herself. She's learned how to fight. She's great. Oh, also she has a Griff Falcon. So basically in my head, what I'm imagining is this gigantic bird that she has a telepathic connection to. So she can talk to the bird without, the bird will be like, are you hungry? Feed. And it'll show like an image of it like attacking a rabbit and like trying to give it to her. And she's like, why would you cook your meat? That's stupid. Like her the bird's comments are so shady. It's great. But yeah, I am going to read the next one. I don't know. I'm not going to compare the Ravenspire books to the Lunar Chronicles until I'm done reading all of them, and then we'll see. Because the first book of the Lunar Chronicles was also kind of flat, considering that it was the story of Cinderella. So the last book that I read, and I actually just finished it at work, was Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. As you guys know, this was one of my most anticipated reads of the year. And I am very disappointed. I'm so confused. Also, for anybody who's wondering, this particular book has a lot of violence, a lot of rape that is both implied, and then other rape scenes that are explicitly detailed to where you're kind of just left horrified. I wasn't ready. Technically, the story is about Red Wolf, who is also known as Tracker, because he has a nose where he can smell somebody's scent and then he can find them. He's hired to find a boy. However, you don't actually get to that particular part until part 3. This book is broken up into 6 parts. With this, I don't know what that noise was. We're going to just keep going. Each part is broken up. Also, I should also state that the paper in this book is phenomenal. It's super soft. But the book is broken up into parts. So it'll have a part like this, and then it'll have like a quote, and then it'll give you like a map of like the location of where they are, so you can kind of get a good idea. The world that we're living in is huge. They jump to multiple places. It is obviously set in Africa. There are undertone moments where they don't specifically mention white colonizers destroying their country, but they do talk about pale-faced people bringing diseases and all that stuff, but that's still not the focus. This story starts off from the end. So the very first line of the book is, the boy is dead. And so this is Red Wolf, aka Tracker, talking to the Inquisitor because he's been put under arrest for the murder of the boy. So you think you're about to kind of hear like a testimonial or an interview. So he's just telling the story to the Inquisitor. However, he starts all the way back to the very beginning of his life. And I know I recommended this book for the book club. I'm sorry. We're going to stick to fluffier reads. This book is just, I don't know how to explain this book. This is also on my list of makeup book reviews, but I just need to get my thoughts together. I don't know. I really do not know. The story has witches. It has the Black Leopard, who can also shapeshift into a man. There are a lot of shape-shifting animals in this story, including hyenas who shapeshift into women with male parts that are used in a rape scene. Look, it's a lot. Also, there is a lot of sexuality situations where like boy effer is used a lot. So there's obviously it's like for it to have so much bisexuality in the book, there was also a lot of hatred towards it at the same time. So it was very weird. It was like every man that was introduced into the story liked men but also did women, like, because that was their obligation. So it was like, well, are you bisexual but then you hate? I don't know. Everything about this book is so confusing. I will not be continuing the dark, I think it's the dark trilogy. I don't know what it is. I will not be on that train. Just not. No, thank you. I don't know what to say. I don't know. It says that it was about a missing child, but this book was about Tracker. The missing child was a subplot. A subplot. I do not know. I don't know. I'm just going to stop talking. Okay, guys, so that was all the books that I read in the past 2 months. Don't worry, I'm going back to monthly read catch-ups. I just didn't feel like recording, so I didn't for the month of May, but I'm back. So my question to you guys is, A, what books did you read for the month of May? And B, what books do you think I would like to read in the summertime? Remembering that I'm kind of taking a break from high fantasy, because technically Red Wolf was a high fantasy, and I would like fluffier reads, things that make me happy. I'll even take things that make me gag, because I'm kind of still traumatized from Black Leopard, Red Wolf. Until the next time, guys. Bye.